All right, everybody. Thank you guys for joining us on this Sunday. We have a ton to recap from yesterday's colossal day in college football. We're going to preview the NFL, do some fantasy as well. Blaine and Cone play each other. It's an emotional time across the board.
That is true,
The
yeah.
Astros win the World Series in 6. Wow, I wonder who said that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go
There was
back and roll
baseball
the tape.
today?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there was actually baseball yesterday. But remember, before we do anything here, you go hit that subscribe button. You go hit that like button like Brian Kelly hitting the gas to go for 2 and beat Bama last night. And again, if you donate, your question goes to the top. We already got a donation. Again, that goes to the Everybody Help Everybody, Everybody Love Everybody fund that we have here. David Cone, former Michigan quarterback, former Heisman candidate, and father of 1, but maybe 2. We'll see.
Booyah.
And my brother, Blaine Crane, scientist of the underground of the ocean, former
Astronaut.
Western State, Colorado wide receiver, and current NFL free agent. Packers, again, we're looking at you, Yankees Twitter. When are you going to apologize? Guys, we already got some donations. Let's go ahead and get to these first. Blaine, do you want to read them?
Of course I want to read them. I am the man of the people. All right, let's go. Justin Decker, $5 donation. What's up, Justin? Said, someone at Tennessee needs to volunteer to pay for the parlay that cost me. I only needed 10 points. 10. I got him at plus 14.5, boys.
Yeah, I got him at 10.5, and this is where we'll start. You know, all week when we talk about keys to victory and we do these lead ups and we bring these people on, and it's not just for repetitiveness. It's not just for to try and talk about similar things, but they're the real things that are going to affect the game. And what is the one thing, guys, that we highlighted as a group and I highlighted as an individual with this Georgia-Tennessee game? It was controlling the pace, right? It was dictating the tempo. Everybody was talking about Tennessee's offense versus Georgia's defense, but nobody was talking about Georgia's run game versus Tennessee's defense. And while Tennessee does run the ball statistically more than Georgia, as crazy as that sounds, when you're trying to dictate tempo and you're trying to keep another offense off the field, being able to run the ball obviously runs the clock, and it just has a mental effect on the other team. Georgia controlled how that game went the entire game. They made Tennessee play their game. Similarly to how Tennessee made Alabama play that track meet style. You know you have to score. We have to score. We're going fast. We turn it into a shootout, give ourselves a chance at the end. Georgia played this game and operated this game exactly like Kirby and them wanted to. They were effective running the ball, and what did that open up? The play action shots, the shots in general. I mean, hell, I don't know if there were more shots in the stadium during the game or at the bars afterwards. The way that Ladd McConkey was operating down the field. Brock Bowers wasn't really the deep threat. Jordan Rodgers came on our show and talked about how Georgia needed somebody to make a damn explosive play for 27 quarters. You didn't have a wide receiver catch a pass over 30 yards. Well, you saw them turn it up, whether it was Aniyah Smith setting the tone, Stetson Bennett with that run game and with his legs, guys. We talked about that a lot. What was that first touchdown? It was a scramble, and that stayed in the back of the mind of Tennessee. But Tennessee had to adjust the way they played to win. What do we always talk about? The best teams can win in what? Multiple ways. That's why it seems like Alabama, I know they lost last night, has always been able to beat different styles of teams because they make them play their style. You have to tip your hat to Georgia and everything that they did. Tennessee didn't quit. The rain obviously didn't help, but make no mistake. Georgia was the better football team last night in every single phase of the game, including that game-changing 74-yard punt. We always talk about special teams, but it was just another thing that threw Tennessee off their rhythm. Cone, Blaine, I'm going to throw it to y'all. The way I use this, the analogy is this. You know how whenever we watch a college basketball team that is absolutely running up and down the floor at full speed the whole game, they want to play in transition. Then they get to the tournament, and they play somebody like Middle Tennessee State or somebody that just wants to dribble the ball around, eat the shot clock. It throws them off their rhythm. Tennessee looked like they were off their rhythm the whole night. Hendon Hooker could not stay on his spot and throw the ball. And the main difference in that game was Tennessee couldn't protect their passer. Georgia could. That was the difference.
And that's what good teams do to you, Jake. They throw you off your rhythm. It was separation Saturday, boys. I was so pumped yesterday. I could barely sleep playing out all these different scenarios. It feels good to have a consensus number one in the country. I've had Georgia there for a few weeks. I had Ohio there for a few weeks. I thought Tennessee was a legitimate number one when they got ranked there. They're still a very good football team. But to me, this didn't feel like a home field advantage win. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people said, well, what if Alabama had played Tennessee in Tuscaloosa rather than Knoxville? Do they win by 3 instead of lose by 3? I think that's a legitimate conversation you could have. This didn't feel like a scenario where Georgia was going to lose to Tennessee if they played in Knoxville, if they played in, a neutral site, if they played anywhere in the world. So a fantastic win by the Bulldogs. You saw them cooking on all cylinders. And I have to ask you guys this, at what point do we have to have a legitimate conversation about Stetson Bennett being in the Heisman Trophy conversation, not in a disingenuous way?
No, I think you have to have that legitimate conversation. I think you have to start having a legitimate conversation about Bo Nix being a Heisman finalist and going to New York too as well. But I want to say this, Cone, I'm going to push back a little bit against you on that. I thought you could see the home field advantage. How many false starts did Tennessee have in that game?
8 by the time I stopped counting, and I get that.
What did we?
I get that.
And from a talent standpoint, from a physicality standpoint, is what I think you're talking about, and I agree with you. But from an operational standpoint, from a systematic standpoint, all week we talked about Tennessee is effective and that warp speed NASCAR style pace is effective. Why? Because they stay on schedule. How many times have you seen Tennessee in 2nd and 13? How many times have you seen them in 1st and 15? They lived in 2nd and 12 last night. You can't do that. It takes away everything you're trying to do. It makes you one-dimensional. And we know that Hendon, and I thought they did a good job yesterday on the broadcast pointing this out. If you notice, Hendon doesn't take a super deep drop. Like the drop between Bryce Young and Stetson Bennett and some of these guys that really get into it, Hendon is getting to a spot. He's like Klay Thompson on the free throw line. I'm going to get to my spot. I'm going to put my foot right here, and I'm used to operating visually in this window. But I thought the false starts and the noise played a huge effect in that game yesterday from a starting in 1st and 15. This Georgia defense is already good, and they played their ass off without Nolan Smith last night. And you talk about effort. You want to talk about giving effort? There were multiple times yesterday throughout college football where you can go back and look. LSU's a great example of a DB running and hawking a guy that's about to score a touchdown. You make them earn every touchdown. Tennessee had to earn every single yard that they got yesterday. Just look at the numbers. Stetson was unbelievably efficient. He was 17 to 25 for 257, 2 touchdowns, no turnovers, QBR in 98. Hell, guys, Georgia didn't have a rusher over 52 yards, and the one rusher that scored a touchdown was Stetson Bennett on 1 carry for 13 yards. Guys, Hendon Hooker had 18 carries for 17 yards. You want to know why that number's skewed like that? Because they were in 2nd and 13. Because they were in 3rd and 9. The whole night, it's where they lived.
Go ahead, Blaine.
I don't know how many times I'm going to have to come on here and pick against Georgia. I don't know why I keep doing it. Because every time I do it, they win. I think Georgia, on every level, if they play any remotely close to what they played against Tennessee, they're going to win the national championship again. There's not a team right now. And what did we kind of point out with Tennessee? Tennessee likes to what? I know it's flashy offense, hit you down the field. Tennessee likes to run the ball. So what Tennessee likes to do, it sets them up on everything, keeps them on schedule. They're averaging 190 yards rushing a game, fellas. The most points in any college football. But I think we can all agree, best offense in football, right?
You talking about Georgia?
No, I'm talking about Tennessee.
Yes, they were the highest scoring offense.
Yeah, best offense. Yeah, best offense in football.
Still
averaging
can
like 50-something points a game.
Like this. Yeah,
and they scored a touchdown in the 4th. They scored 13 points.
Yep.
Had 97 rushing yards. All right. First of all, Todd Monken did a great job in calling this game. And first, I know Georgia didn't run a lot, but when they did, it's something that Tennessee had to worry about. Stetson Bennett again. And I've said this, when Stetson Bennett, when all the cards are on the table, when it comes down to if he has to perform or not, what does he do? The kid just shows out. Georgia, you're giving up 10 points a game. You're giving up 6 points going into the 4th quarter. And after we saw what Alabama did, after I saw what Ohio State did, and these other teams, I think 2 things can be true at once when it comes to home. You have home field advantage, and I think Georgia's just a better football team.
Yep.
They're just a better football team than Tennessee. Jake, you said a lot. They're more balanced. And that defense, I saw it last year. I don't know how you lose that many first round. I want to go back and look. And throughout history, the last time a team has lost that many draft picks, all right, that many draft picks on defense and can come back and be this dominant. This team right now is a clear number 1. And if they play remotely anything close, guys, there's not a team in this country that's going to beat them.
All right, I want to say this too before we move on because there's so much to cover. We got a bunch of donations, a bunch to talk about. We're going to try and get to everything. Make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, turn those notifications on. Nobody covers it like we do. It's like a warm blanket in the wintertime. Tennessee fans, number 1, it's still been a hell of a year. to be honest with you, yesterday could not have worked out better for you but after losing that game than what happened. Clemson goes down. They're pretty much out of it. Shout out to Notre Dame. Colleen, we're going to talk about Notre Dame. I swear to God, we're going to talk about it. I promise you, in a good light, we're going to shower you with compliments and love. And then you have Bama getting that second loss. Guys, right now, if I'm Tennessee, you are in about as good as a position as you possibly could be as a one-loss team. It looks like you're not going to have to play in the SEC championship game. You should be able to win out with the rest of the schedule. I think you got South Carolina, and then the Girl Scouts from Vanderbilt are coming over, even though they had a good run against South Carolina last night a little bit, gave them a little bit of a push. But if you're Tennessee right now, there is no reason to hang your head. There is no reason to say, oh, it's all gone, it's all done. You went and played a tough game with all – and it looked like Tennessee hadn't been there in a while. To me, it looked like Georgia was a lot more comfortable in that moment, and they should be. They have the ultimate experience of being in that. We're going to keep hitting that. Blaine, what other donations we got?
Let's go to Hunter Fournette with a $20 dono. Appreciate it, Hunter. He says, down go Saban. Down go Saban. Go Tigers, baby. All right, let's go to Jordan Kilgo with a $4.99 donation. He says, do you guys think Coach Caddy could succeed if given the reins at Auburn? He can recruit, and the players love him. Best game I've seen them play all year.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's start with the LSU Bama. You know, we laid out the three things that LSU had to do to be able to beat Alabama, and they were going to have to get a little help from them. The first thing was you can't get off to a horrible start the way you had against Ole Miss, the way you had against Auburn, the way you had against Tennessee with this Alabama offense. And you know what? You almost did. You got the ball. You drove it a little bit. You punted. Alabama got it. There were a couple misreads I thought Jaden had on that first drive. And Alabama takes the ball right down the field. They had no problem. It was just Jahmyr Gibbs out of the backfield, intermediate pass, run. Jahmyr Gibbs out of the backfield, intermediate pass, run. It's just rinse and repeat. They could not wait to run those plays getting off the bus that they had scripted up. But you got the turnover in the red zone. To me, that totally changed the game. That changed the feel of the game. That changed the vibe of the game. And not that LSU was quitting, but it really gave me the sense that LSU looked around and was like, you know what? We can actually do this. We can actually win this game. It got the crowd fired up. Then you kind of play ping pong back and forth. But guys, you know what I'm starting to think? Number one, LSU won this game. Jaden Daniels, just looking at the numbers, you're 22 of 32 for 182 yards, 2 touchdowns, didn't throw any interceptions. You worked it down the field enough to be a threat. That's what opened up that intermediate game. What he did with his legs was so efficient. Not that it's unbelievably explosive. We can watch him. We see the wiggle. He's like a taller Nick Marshall in the way he runs. It's tough to pin him down. They're a little bit different, but there are similarities when they get in closed space. But I was so impressed. With the play calling from Mike Denbrock in this game. He never let LSU get too out of ahead of their skis in the pass game or the run game. You did not know if LSU was running the ball or passing the ball throughout the entire game. And you really saw it help the further that game went on. You saw that run game grow and get stronger and get stronger and get stronger. And the second thing we said, LSU could not play sloppy on special teams. You didn't play sloppy. In fact, you whipped their ass with field position the whole first half. You want to know how LSU stayed in that game in the first half? Bama started inside the 15. I can't remember how many times. And it seemed like LSU was always at midfield, a play away from being in field goal range. So I thought they played very clean in all three phases. You didn't lose the game. And then the third thing was Jaden Daniels at least showing the threat of the downfield passing game. He did just enough. I actually thought you could have got more. He chunked it downfield a couple times. You did have a completion, had one that should have been caught, but it was the fear that you were going to do that. And you saw late in the game, Butte, whether it was crossers, whether it was Malik Neighbors, who was a stud as a freshman. You can really tell Jaden wants to find him on third down. This was a complete team win for LSU. This was not a game that Bama blew, to be honest with you. Bryce Young, I'm really starting to believe, guys, that his lack of reps in practice is starting to show during the game from a timing standpoint. Bryce has twice this year, and I know he wasn't hurt during the Texas game, but twice this year, he has looked so uncomfortable in the pocket against Texas and against LSU last night. Not that he was bad. He played well enough to win, but it just seems to me, guys, like this LSU team, and I said this before the beginning, out-organized Alabama. Let me say that again. How do you beat a team that may be a little bit more talented than you on the roster, that may be a little bit deeper than you on the roster? You out-organize them. You out-execute them. And I thought LSU was as clean as they possibly could. And kudos to Brian Kelly for having the balls to go for 2. You got nothing to lose. It's the Bourbon Bowl, man. You can't hold anything back. Bobby Boucher wasn't showing up at halftime. Turns out you didn't need him. What a crazy night in Baton Rouge. And guys, I texted Rufino. I was like, look, what goes on in Baton Rouge tonight is going to make those Antifa riots look like a baby shower.
Well, I thought it was the worst game I could remember from Bryce Young. Actually, under 50%
25 of 51,
under 50% completion percentage. Exactly. Looked discombobulated in the pocket. And hats off to LSU and the pressures that they were able to bring. Now, I told Jordan Kaladi, I don't think Alabama's going to help you out. I don't think Bryce Young's going to turn the football over, and I don't think they're going to commit penalties at the rate that we've been seeing. And like you said, Bryce comes down and throws that interception on the very first drive. But make no mistake about it, LSU went out and beat this team. Brian Kelly said it's a goal of mine to beat Nick Saban. I mean, first of all, to say something like that before the season, not to give a politically correct answer, to come out and say, I came to the SEC because I want to beat that guy, and then to do it in year 1. I mean, hats off to him and everything this program has accomplished. And like we talked about last week, there's a handful of countries, there's a handful of teams around the country that have gotten better every single week. And that's so hard to do. It's easy to start off hot and get worse throughout a season because you have attrition and you have injuries. LSU is one of these teams that's gotten better every single week. That's why I thought they had a legitimate opportunity to win the football game, and now they're sitting in the driver's seat in the SEC West. What a great victory for them.
Hey, Blaine, your thoughts real quick, but I want to say this. This is the second straight year somebody's called their shot against Saban and they beat him. Jimbo did it last year. Brian Kelly did it this year. Who's going to do it next year? Clark Lee, looking at you, dog.
Expectations, Jake. Expectations. I'm going to say this. This is the worst Bama coach defense I've seen in a long time. In a long time. I mean, Pete Golden, I know, well, you go back to the Tennessee game. I hate the scheme they had against Tennessee. They're rushing 3, gave up that, and then you give up that amount. You give up 10 in the 4th, and you couldn't get a stop. I'm not used to seeing a Bama team when it comes down to, 1, losing one-on-ones, especially on the outside, and 2, not getting the stop or being in the right place. Jaden Daniels, I just don't know how you don't scheme against him. I do not know. He's not the number 1 guy you don't scheme against. Well, was his legs. His legs. You gave up 190 yards rushing against LSU.
You know who had the best plan against Jaden Daniels? Auburn had the best plan.
Auburn had the best plan. The undisciplined. This is an undisciplined Alabama defense. And it's not like they don't have talent. I mean, hell, they got talent walking all over the field, but they look poorly coached.
Well, I want to say this
poorly coached defense. You didn't make the adjustments you needed to make to win this game.
No, I'm with you. I was shocked they weren't more aggressive on the underneath. I mean, LSU was running stops and outs on 3rd and medium the whole night. It was like, at what point is Alabama going to You're playing 2-man, dog. You got help behind you. Somebody get physical. Somebody jump a route. Like Jaden Daniels, it was RPO, working outside, and it was smart by Brian Kelly and Mike Denbrock. But again, that's like calling, hey, run the play where we get a layup. That's basically what it is. But I'm going to tell you what Bama's problem is. And to me, it's not as much defensively. Guys, Alabama cannot create explosive plays down the field unless Bryce Young just runs around and breaks 3 tackles and somebody's wide open. All their big plays are the running back out of the backfield. It's Jahmyr Gibbs on an angle route or somebody on a slant or somebody on a swing. Bama's not creating plays through combinations down the field. I mean, how many times, guys, go back and look, has Bryce Young stayed in the pocket, gone through his reads, and hit somebody down the field on the post? Just hit somebody on the vertical on the 50-50 ball? Hell, last night, their big explosive pass play was because Bryce Young hopped out of the dojo, put the ninja outfit on, and snuck into the city, and found Ja'Cory Brooks running wide open during the scramble drill because LSU's eyes went down and they went to the quarterback. Yeah. It just continues to surprise me that Alabama cannot stop explosive plays on defense, yet cannot create explosive plays through the downfield passing game. We watched Bryce Young. I don't know who murdered more people doing it, him or Jeffrey Dahmer. I mean, at the end of the day, Bryce Young has just absolutely mutilated people down the field from in the pocket and outside of the pocket. But this year, it's had to be like, it's just whose line is it anyway? Let's just improv around, see if we can find somebody, and somebody pull a Ryan Stiles at the end. But guys, it was a hell of a win for LSU. And if we're looking right now, Blaine, I know we got some questions about our college football rankings. Hit us with it.
Hey, hold on. Think about that real quick from an Alabama perspective. Despite no big plays and all the turnovers and the deficiencies that we have seen on both sides of the football, their 2 losses are on the road at night at Neyland by 3, and then on the road at Death Valley at night in overtime.
Yeah,
That's wild.
That shows you how talented they are.
All right, let's go back to these donations. We're going to run through these. Ross, $4.99 donation says, go Tigers. All right, let's go. James Stalling, $1.99 donation says, Auburn fought and has hope even in a loss. War Eagle. Well, at least there's one of us.
Well, I'm going to say this. We had the question about Cadillac earlier. Unbelievable effort last night. Those guys played their guts out. I want to tip my hat to Caddy and the whole staff. Weren't able to win the game. I hope Caddy gets kept. He will not be the next head coach at Auburn, even though I think he did a really, really good job, and I hope he does get kept in that next.
All right, let's go to Kill a Drone, $5 donation. Appreciate it. Says, I deserve to be publicly shamed today. I never should have doubted Brian Ironstones Kelly. # go Tigers.
You're in the trust tree, man.
You're in the trust tree. Don't worry about it, dog. You're in the trust tree.
You could be a guy who came on the show from Notre Dame. So
yeah,
so
I think somebody asked us about our where our rankings are at today too, Blaine.
Oh, top 10?
No.
Okay, yeah, I'm going through donos right now. So Troy Jacobs, $4.99 donation. Appreciate it, Troy. Let's go to Malcolm Martin, Freezing Liberty, $1.99 donation.
Mm-hmm.
How about that? Brad David, $1.99 donation says, does Tennessee have a path to the playoff? Let's go to Stevie J, $5 donation. Appreciate it, Stevie. Says, year 2 of Coach Heupel has been an amazing year. Can't wait for the future. Go Vols.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Tennessee has nothing to be upset about. You do have a path to the playoff. Probably right now, you and Oregon, in my opinion, have really, really good paths to the playoff. You just need to win out, and you need a couple more things to happen, but a couple dominoes you needed to fell last night after you fell in the greatest of irony. I think somebody asked us about our rankings, too. Remember, donations get asked first.
All right, let's go to Stevie's Action Figure Frenzy, $10 donation. Appreciate it, Stevie. Thank you for changing your name. Did C.J. Stroud prove that he can run yesterday? The win gave him no choice.
Look, we talked about it all week. Right? C.J. Stroud. I know it feels like I said we talk about these things all week, but we do. And then when they happen on the field, we love to be able to say, hey, look, they actually did what we were talking about and it worked, or they did it and it didn't work, because it doesn't always work. But yeah, C.J. Stroud, I thought with his legs yesterday, he recognized in that weather. And look, I know people like Dan Wolkin are going to come out here because they always want to cry and complain about something. Dan's the worst of us. I hate to even bring him up. But they're talking about, guys, well, people that are judging Ohio State like they're a good team just because of the elements yesterday. I'm going to tell you something. If you've ever had to throw a ball in 30-mile-per-hour wind, you understand how difficult it is. And look, that game played perfectly into what Northwestern wanted to do. It was tough to hit big plays because the wind was manipulating the ball. You were having to knife it through the wind because it was blowing across, which makes it tough. Everything was kept in front, which did what? It slowed the game down. It's almost like playing on taller, thicker grass. It does give the slower team a little bit of an advantage, even though you call it an even track. So that doesn't excuse how the lack of physicality that I think we saw from Ohio State, especially in the front seven on defense. I mean, Northwestern was lining up in the Wildcat every play and running power, counter, inside zone, lead, and insert for the whole game, and yet they were still being able to eat up yardage and eat up clock and make that game a lot closer than what it should have been. Coney, your thoughts on Ohio State? Mm-hmm. Michigan struggled a little bit with Rutgers early. Rutgers blocks the punt, put a little pressure on them, but they were able to pull away. Ohio State, though, yesterday, your thoughts?
Yeah, well, we were watching that game together, and this is what I've been saying on the show here, which is it's different to play football in the Midwest in September than it is in late November. And this is what I've been talking about. When the elements start to come into play, a football team has to look different. And my thing is, I'm not so much worried about C.J. Stroud throwing for 75 yards in the pouring rain against Northwestern. It's that then the Buckeyes didn't rush for 350 in that same game. Yeah. That's what we used to would see from the Buckeyes. And also Northwestern being able to rush for 208 against them. Right? That's the thing, is if Northwestern's rushing for that amount against you, what's Michigan going to do? What's a team like Georgia going to be able to do? Even though if you meet up in the playoffs, those games will be indoors. But look, despite all of that, the Buckeyes find themselves with another double-digit win. Mm-hmm. Look, you want to beat Northwestern 58-7, I get it. But in the pouring rain, on the road, beat a team the way you can beat them, get the win, and move on.
The one thing I will say about that game, the only thing that worries me is the way Northwestern's DBs played against Ohio State receivers. Mm-hmm. Locking them up, man-to-man, more physical outside, even with the little bubble, the quick shots outside, beating them in blocks. That's the only thing that worried me
I'm not worried.
if I'm Ohio State.
I'm not worried about Ohio State's wide receivers. I'm going to keep it a stat.
Well, if Northwestern can lock you up, buddy, I know a lot of other teams that can.
I think that was a little bit part of the elements, but C.J. Stroud wasn't delivering balls on time. If you go back and watch C.J. Stroud, you want to talk about timing being thrown off? C.J. Stroud was throwing swings and stops 10 yards over people's head. Anything that seemed like 15 yards down the field, he was overthrowing, and finally, it seemed like he got a grasp on the wind about halfway through that third quarter and just started driving the ball. Instead of sitting there trying to put touch on it and use the wind to guide it, he tried to drive it through there. Instead, in baseball, we call it getting cute. I thought CJ was trying to get cute early. Then he started using his legs. But anything down the field, if you go back and look, there were a couple times where Marvin Harrison Jr. had absolutely broken somebody off on the sidelines, but CJ Stroud would either overthrow him. They had 2 times down the field where the Northwestern DB was cooked like salmon on a cold day, and CJ Stroud overthrew him. So I know they didn't play well, Blaine, and Northwestern actually low-key always stays with a couple DBs, if you notice that. They always stay with a couple that are pretty good. But the last thing I'm worried about with Ohio State is the wide receiver room. I'm more worried about the physicality because that's what cost them against Michigan last year.
Yeah, well,
and
think about
Go ahead.
They had all the great wide receivers they have on the team right now. They had last season, plus Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson. That's what I'm saying is the weather is not going to get any better. So as talented as that core is, if you're not able to open them up by running the football for the next 3 games, the next 4 games, we may keep seeing the same thing.
Yeah. And you guys, we saw that was the theme around the whole country yesterday was weather.
Yes.
Right. I think the weather, you saw how many unders hit yesterday. I mean, it was all across the country, even on Friday, starting with Oregon State and Washington. It seemed like the weather effect this weekend was more affected by the weather during the day games, not really at night. You didn't really, Alabama, LSU didn't look too bad. There were some other games across the country I didn't think looked too bad, including Clemson and Notre Dame, guys. A lot of people had talked about Clemson being at number 4. They shouldn't be at number 4. Who have they beaten? Why are they at 4? And TCU's not at 4. There were a lot of questions. Well, guess what? This is why we play the games. First off, I want to say congrats to Marcus Freeman, the first big win of his coaching era in Notre Dame, one of many to come, I think. And they're winning it a little bit differently than what Notre Dame has won it, right? Notre Dame in the past had kind of won it with a little more finesse, big plays. Notre Dame is just turning everything into a fist fight, just a scrum, and seeing who will come out. But DJU, guys, another thing we alluded to earlier, old DJU cannot get off that bus. Well, old DJU got off that bus. We have seen him regress. But the worst part for Clemson was Cade Klubnik comes in, those one pass, it was an interception. You gave up a block punt for a touchdown. You gave up a pick 6. The whole recipe for Notre Dame, not only to win, but to win big in this game, played out exactly like they had to have it to. Guys, Drew Pine, the quarterback for Notre Dame, went 9 of 17 for 85 yards and a touchdown.
They beat Clemson with 85 yards.
That's triple option quarterback numbers, basically. That's from a yardage standpoint. That is wild. But here's what Notre Dame did do. And you're starting to see this is Notre Dame's identity. Notre Dame is actually playing bully ball, if you can believe it or not. You had Diggs, 17 carries, 114 yards. Estime, 18 carries, 104 yards. Guys, they had 200 yards rushers. Clemson did not have a 100-yard rusher. At the end of the day, this game came down to who was going to be more physical, who wanted to line up and kick whose ass. And Notre Dame, it was like they just jumped Clemson. The whole game, it felt like Notre Dame, I know they had the block punt that put them up, but the whole game, it felt like Notre Dame was the aggressor. Like Notre Dame was the bully, and they were waiting on you to walk into the school so they could give you a wedgie in front of everybody in the hallway, and that's what they did. And if you're Clemson, at what point, Cone, and I'm going to start with you on this, David, because you got to give Notre Dame all the credit, they out-physicaled them. But if you're Clemson, going to be tough to make the playoff now, especially losing late, and this Notre Dame team's not exactly undefeated and ranked in the top 10. But if you're Clemson, who starts at quarterback for the next game and going forward, David? Is this the end of the DJU era? All he did was come back in after he screwed up, after they replaced him, and throw a pick 6.
Well, then why put him back in? That's what I was so confused with. Why make a quarterback change? Like, when you make a quarterback change in the middle of the game like that, you have to be able to stick by it no matter how poorly the guy plays who you just put in. You have to be able to have that confidence in him. Now, when it came to the Syracuse game, I didn't think that Cade Klubnik went in and won that football game. I thought Syracuse lost it. So you could at least point to the fact that, well, DJ Uiagalelei didn't play a great first half, but maybe Clemson would have still won the football game. So we're going to start him for the rest of the season because we're still undefeated. He got us here and we could still make the playoff. But when you make the change in the middle of the game against Notre Dame, the kid throws one pass. I know it was an interception. I don't understand why you then pull him out. So who starts at Clemson? I have no idea. I don't know what Dabo Swinney is thinking there now. I don't think that Clemson makes the playoff now, though. It's not so much the one loss. It's just the one loss combined with the fact that they haven't really looked great on offense throughout the season, and you have quarterback troubles, and you're going to have other one-loss teams now across the country who I think can make even a better case. But like you said, all praise to Notre Dame. I don't know how Notre Dame beats Clemson at home with 85 yards passing, but those two running backs, I told you guys after I watched them against Syracuse, because they did the exact same thing. We talk about thunder and lightning running back combos a lot. Notre Dame has a thunder and thunder combo with Estime and Diggs. Give them the football, watch them run downhill, 263 rushing against that Clemson defense, because we know the defense on Clemson is one of the elite defenses in the country. Fantastic win, and that's a signature victory for Marcus Freeman, boys.
Yeah, and Blaine, Clemson lost this game like the way they had been winning them, even going back to last year with the struggles on offense. They've been doing the dirty work. They've been setting the tone in the front seven. They've been playing in your backfield and in your lap on defense. Notre Dame just totally flipped the script, and I think that has to go a little bit to Marcus Freeman, the motivator, as well, right, Blaine?
Yeah, I would agree, and congrats to Marcus Freeman. Well, Notre Dame beat Clemson at their own game, right? Clemson wants to do what? Run the ball, keep everything in front of them on defense, and that's what Notre Dame did. And what was the big catalyst for Clemson? What could you lean on? Was their defense. At the end of the day, I don't know an elite defense that gives over 200 yards rushing. I'm going to be honest. There's not a lot out there that gives over 200-plus yards rushing.
When you know they're going to run it. When you know they're going to run it.
When they're coming up the Michigan style, like, hey, we're going to run the ball and see if you can stop it with all the athletes Clemson had on the field. But I do think Cade Klubnik needs to be the starting quarterback for Clemson for the rest of the year. You saw what your ceiling is with DJU, all right, and it's not good enough. Go ahead and get Cade in there. Get Cade used to being the starting quarterback at Clemson, and let's move on from there. Your playoff hopes are over. You're not going to the playoff. I mean, I'm not trying to sit here and be an ass, but you're not. It's done. Okay, it's done. But if the biggest thing that surprised me is that Will Shipley only had 60 yards rushing.
Yeah,
that's the biggest thing for me. The kid's been running the ball all year, one of the heaviest, hardest runners in college football, and only had 60 yards rushing. Good for Notre Dame. Colleen Houston, I'm sure you are absolutely stoked 100% right now, and you deserve this. But will y'all join a conference? Please, you can win the ACC this year.
Blaine, we put him in the ACC. They're in the ACC to me.
So here's my question.
But they're not.
Here's my question on Clemson then. Are you going to move forward and start Cade Klubnik for the rest of the season because you're going to go ahead and try and get ready for next year? Or are you going to legitimately analyze the two guys and say, hey, we still need to win the ACC championship this year? That's still important to us.
Can you not do both?
Like my thing, like how much more can we legitimately analyze DJU? Like at what point?
Well, my question is, if you thought DJ Uiagalelei gave you the better chance to move forward and win the ACC this year, is that important enough, okay, rather than start Cade Klubnik, who may lose you a couple more games in the season, but you're better prepared for next year?
Well, what I'm saying is I think obviously you play the best player, right? You always want to play the best player, the player that gives you the best chance to win. But Cade hasn't played enough for us to really know. I mean, you've come in garbage time and then, hey, save us time. It's never been, guess what? This week, you're the starter. On Monday, you're going to go out with the ones. Tuesday, you're going to go out with the ones. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. DJ, you're going to be the backup. You know this, Cone. It changes the way you prepare. We all say prepare like you're going to play. It's a little bit different when you know that you're going to be the starting quarterback. Ask Stetson Bennett. Hell, this is the first offseason where you've gone through it and you're like, don't have a quarterback problem. It's going to be Stetson Bennett. Yeah. That takes so much pressure off you, and it changes the way I think you go into it and you prepare. And look, it's good that you're in the ACC, right? And not in the SEC or a conference where it's super deep and you're like, well, if we throw Cade out there, I mean, we may be legitimately screwed with who we're playing, even though they got absolutely punked by Notre Dame. I don't think Clemson's going to get out physicaled in a lot of the games they have left on the schedule. If you look, South Carolina, they're a lot more talented than. I don't know the rest of their schedule right off the top of my head, but I think you have to give Cade at least a chance to go out there and say, you know what? All right, DJU does give us the best chance to win. I just don't know if we've had enough sample size with Cade to say, all right, let's make a legitimate decision right now.
Yeah,
But
it's like Klubnik has come in every time with the bases loaded in the NLCS and said, "Hey, we're still a World Series team. You got to come save us and
yeah,
get
well, it's
three
like if
outs."
I'm a fireman, if I'm training to be a fireman, and the only time you bring me in is when there's like a little action figure on fire that I can just spray with a bottle, or it's a 5-alarm fire in a house that's burning down at an unbelievable rate that I can't stop. Like, how do we know? How do we know? Give me a middle fire. Can I work on like a kitchen fire first? Yeah, the shed's on fire. Can you give me a hose and let me put that out and see how it goes?
So Clemson has Louisville, Miami, South Carolina.
Louisville, Miami, South Carolina. Oh God, don't even get me started on Miami. Can we just for a second go ahead and get Miami, Florida State out of the way?
Please.
Number one, I'm never betting on Miami in anything again. Let me go and put it this way. I took them plus 7.5 because I thought that they weren't blind and deaf. Watching that game yesterday, I've seen teams get dominated. You know, there's games where you go out and you don't play well. And then there's whatever in God's name happened to Miami at home last night. They made Florida State look like the Kansas City Chiefs met up with the 85 Bears that are hanging out with the 72 Dolphins getting a drink in the bar. Florida State's had a better year, but Miami, Tyler Van Dyke? Man, you might as well have put Dick Van Dyke out there last night. He'd have had a better chance than Tyler Van Dyke. Tyler Van Dyke, just to me, was out there just making it up as he goes. Just absolutely making it up as he goes. And look, I think Mario is going to turn that place around. You look at the way they're recruiting on the offensive linemen that they're bringing in, those 2 massive tackles. Mario is going to get the guys in there. But wow, is this Miami team bad. And then on defense, in the front 7, oh my God, y'all couldn't have stopped COVID with all the masks in the world. You could have gotten an old Aztec mask, a surgical mask, one of those masks you wear at one of those masquerade party, every type of mask, Batman's mask. You could have got all the masks in the world. You weren't stopping. Florida State, their running backs were not getting touched for 5 or 6 yards, running the power. I've never seen Miami against Florida State. That's the type of effort you get. Miami's down bad. Like I thought it was bad. They're down bad. That roster, you got to go. I don't care what we got to bring. I need turnover chain back. And look, I know that he's going to organize it and they're going to turn them, but you got to have a little bit of that dog in you at Miami. And what I saw last night, it was a lot of cat. A lot of instead of that dog, and you guys running around with gold teeth, smashing each other at full speed across the middle. Miami, it was disgusting to watch last night. And if I'm a Miami fan, I'm pissed. I'm legitimately pissed. Not that you lost. Team's not that good. Okay, we know that. But it's the way you lost. It's one thing to get beat up. Like, oh, no, you got beat up behind the bar. Just a couple people saw. Nobody's really going to know. Then there's nothing to get beat up in front of your kids and your wife. Like, that's what I feel like last night. Like, Miami got beat up in front of their family. So, like, how are you supposed to go back and your kid's supposed to respect you? How's your wife supposed to feel protected by you? You're out here getting slapped around in public when you're trick-or-treating because you opened your mouth to the wrong person. It's so bad. It was so bad. But anyway, that's my Miami, Florida State. Y'all want to add anything?
They're 4-5 right now, and it's not like their schedule is Tennessee's schedule or BYU's schedule. These 5 losses are to Middle Tennessee State, North Carolina, Texas A&M, who's down right now, Duke, and Florida State. And half your wins are against Southern Miss and Bethune-Cookman. I mean, look, I know Mario Cristobal, it's year 1, but that's not good.
I mean, the effort. Like, I thought y'all were gonna have to call John Walsh, like call 1-800-MISSING. Where was the football team?
It was bad.
Who showed up to play this game? What were y'all doing the whole week at practice?
It was bad, fellas. This felt like kind of you're playing your dad in the driveway type of thing. You just got into 8th grade, right? You touched the rim one time. So you really think you're about it. Next thing you know, you play your dad in the driveway and he beats you 15-0, 7 games in a row. Miami's a really bad football team. Yeah. They're just bad on all special teams, offense, defense, probably in the pregame locker room. I don't know how. Like, look, Mario, and I understand you're recruiting, but dog, it's going to take some time, buddy.
But Miami, I mean, South Florida has the best athletes per capita really in the country. Miami should always have good enough athletes that when a really good coach comes in, you can do better than that. because that's bad.
You lost to Duke.
Well, and like Chayton Bussey says, why is it Miami was bad, not how good Florida State played? Florida State played great, but I think even Florida State's players and coaches are probably waking up this morning surprised it was as easy as it was, because there was no stress against you, right? Like for example, Chayton, especially in a rivalry game, I hope I'm saying your name right, is that you may see a team come out and dominate early, right? And you look and say, you know what? This team A is way better than Team B. But there are always stress points during the game where Team B is almost getting, even Tennessee, Georgia. You remember yesterday when Tennessee was down 27-13, or they were down 24-6. They had gotten the ball back, crossed midfield, turned them over, looked like they were going down to score, and Hendon Hooker throws that pick to Keely Ringo down the sideline. And even when they were down 27-13, and there was 5 minutes to go and they were driving, there's always stress points where you're like, maybe the game isn't totally in doubt. At no point yesterday was that game, till when they kicked it off, to when that game ended, ever in doubt. There was not 1 second where that game was in doubt. That's why, because I don't want to take away from FSU, just like I don't want to take away from Notre Dame, just like I don't want to take away from any team that wins. But I'll always say this, and Florida State won that game yesterday. They just beat them to sleep. Yeah. Most teams lose games. They do not win them, and it'll always be that way. But a team that keeps winning them is TCU, guys. Yesterday, it wasn't pretty. There's been some games where we've seen TCU go back and forth, but I guarantee you right now, Clemson would have loved an ugly win. Alabama would have taken an ugly win. Hell, A&M would take an ugly win, a pretty win, a mid win, chunk from the Goonies win, or whatever that thing was, the monster from the Goonies, just a win of some sort. But TCU, guys, they find a way. And TCU seems to be a second-half team to me, fellas. They scored 21 in the fourth yesterday to put the game away, because Texas Tech came out, took a punch, delivered a punch. Their TCU's up 13-10 at halftime. Texas Tech shuts them out in the third quarter, 7-0, and TCU drops a 21 piece to win by 10. Not only win, but cover. I'm going to tell you guys right now, TCU should be number 4 in the college football playoff when those rankings come out this coming week. They should be the 4th team, in my opinion.
I have them at 4 right now.
It should be Georgia. It should be Michigan. It should be Ohio State. And it should be TCU followed by Tennessee.
Man,
that should be the top 5 right now.
So my top 10 right now, I was doing this last night after these games wrapped up. Georgia, Michigan. I have Michigan 2 right now too. This is the first time I've moved them ahead of the Buckeyes in my ranking. So Georgia, Michigan, Ohio, TCU at 4, Tennessee 5. Then I have Oregon, Southern Cal, and UCLA 6, 7, and 8.
You still have LSU, USC in front of UCLA?
Because Southern Cal's only loss is a 1-point loss on the road at Utah, and Utah went for a 2-point conversion and got that. Southern Cal is a 2-point conversion from Utah away from being undefeated right now. But we're going to find out, because Southern Cal not only plays UCLA, guess who else they play? They play a Notre Dame team that just beat Clemson.
Yeah,
so we're going to find out more. And as far as TCU goes, they now go on the road to Texas and on the road to Baylor back-to-back weeks.
Yeah, and we got to remember, too, I mean, USC just barely got by Cal yesterday. A win's a win, but Cal's not exactly setting the world on fire out there, even though they're a little bit sneakier on defense than what people think. But, guys, speaking on TCU, at what point do we have to start putting Max Duggan in this Heisman list? We talked about Stetson Bennett, right? Hendon struggled yesterday. He still may have a chance to be able to come back and resurrect it, even though not playing in that SEC championship game is going to hurt. I think Stetson's got to be in there, but Duggan goes 12 of 23, 200 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. On the ground, probably his least effective game, 12 carries for 6 yards. But hell, Miller went 21 for 158 and a score, so they really didn't need him. But again, he's finding ways to win and make the plays that they need late. Is Max Duggan a top 4 Heisman finalist for you right now, Blaine?
Yes. I mean, let's be honest right here. The Heisman's a toss-up right now. That's what it is. It's a toss-up. It'll play out later in the season. But, I mean, the kid had 2,400 yards, 24 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions with a 67% completion rate. I mean, yeah, you got to put him in there. And this TCU team's scrappy. They're scrappy. They can give it to you in multiple ways. You want it through the air, we can do it. Ran for 234 yards against Texas Tech. They can have it either way, baby. It's like McDonald's. You can have it your way, or that's Burger King. I really don't know. But are they, in y'all's opinion, do y'all really think they're a top 4 team in the nation?
I have them 4 right now. Where else can you put them?
Again, if you're looking, it's hard for me to sit here and say, okay, Clemson, and on a neutral site, Clemson definitely beats it. I don't think that. The thing is with TCU, it's similar to Tennessee. They're just in different conferences. TCU's defense, are they good enough? Are they good enough? And they keep showing in moments that they are willing to step up when they have to. But, guys, it's the little things on the periphery. You know how TCU scored one of their touchdowns yesterday? Darius Davis had a hell of a punt return. TCU is finding ways to beat teams complementary style, which is the most dangerous teams play complementary football. What does that mean? The offense works in cognition, or works in sequence with the defense, or works in sequence with the special teams, which works in sequence with the offense. TCU's a complete football team to me. They can beat you in any of the phases. They're a threat in any of the phases. It's just, will 2 out of the 3 of those phases play well? And they consistently do. I don't know. Look at their strength of record. It was 3 last week.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a top 5 strength of record. I mean, at the end of the day, wins are wins. They're one of the 4 undefeated teams left in college football. And there's no UTSA this year. There's no Cincinnati this year. There's nobody in the group of 5 that's nipping at the heels at anybody except Tulane. And they had that loss to Southern Miss. So we don't have that glass-slippered Cinderella that's slapping at the back of somebody's heels as we move forward. This TCU team is undefeated, and I'm looking at this. This Texas game is massive, which is a great segue into what happened yesterday between Texas and Kansas State. Guys, I watched the whole game, had Kansas State plus 2.5. I was shocked. Watching Kansas State defensively on third down, how much they struggled by not adjusting. They kept blitzing Quinn Ewers on third down. They just kept doing it, and he just ripped them apart the whole game. And he got off to a good start in this game, as opposed to what we saw in the Iowa State game, where they were just able to sneak away. Then last week as well, they were firing on all cylinders. Bijan Robinson was hitting home runs left and right. He basically pulled an Aaron Judge. But Kansas State was scoring. They made a run late. I was just shocked at how bad Kansas State was defensively at home. And guys, I got to go back to what we were talking about earlier in the week. Will Howard may need to be the starter for Kansas State. Adrian Martinez had some moments, but he's still got a little bit of that Nebraska Adrian in him, where he puts the ball in harm's way, and for some reason, that dude fumbles every time he gets tackled. Some quarterbacks are just like that.
So do you think Kansas State wins the football game if Will Howard played?
I don't think Kansas State – I think it is a true shootout, as opposed to Kansas State having to play catch-up the whole game, down 2-3. I mean, at one point they were down, 34-10? 31-10 at one point. I think it's more of a, hey, it's just who's going to be the last team with the ball wins, as opposed to we're going to have to fight our guts out to even have a chance at the end. Adrian Martinez just continues to me to be Adrian Martinez. He's had a good year, guys. He's had a much better year than at Nebraska, but he still has those tendencies late in the game.
One more point on the Max Duggan quickly is he has the same amount of yards as Bo Nix, but he has 2 more touchdowns and 3 fewer interceptions. Also has more TDs than Hendon Hooker right now. And so they're going to go on the road to Austin to play this Texas team. How do you think this one's going to play out, guys?
I mean, you want to take the over. Yeah, you want to take the over. You know, I just feel like with Sark, I mean, his play calling so good yesterday. I mean, he was pulling some calls out of the bag that you're just like, I mean, at some point you're just like, come on, man. He's calling plays to set up plays. He's running screens off of things they ran a quarter before that he does things to your eyes as a defender that's almost borderline unfair. He uses your rules against you. It's the ultimate reversal. That's one of the best things that Steve does. Just this TCU team just continues to find a way to win. I think they still feel like they're the underdog. They may not. Texas may be favored in this game at home. I think Sonny Dykes has found a way with a veteran quarterback, with the wide receiver room, with their best wide receiver out yesterday. They were able to find a way to win. It just feels like if you can limit Bijan hitting home runs, not yards, he's going to get yards, whether that's catching the ball in the backfield in the screen game, the modified run game, the short passing game, or just lining up and running it, counter, powered trucks, all those things. He's going to get his yards, but you can't let him hit it from 70. You've got to make Texas go 8, 9, 10 plays, and I think TCU is explosive enough to make this a one-score game. Feels like it's going to come down to a field goal or a big special teams play.
So back-to-back at Texas, at Baylor. Do you think TCU wins both those games, Blaine?
No, I think they lose at Texas. I think Texas will be favored in this game. I would say probably by at least a field goal or more. The difference to me in this game will be Bijan Robinson, the true best running back in college football. I think they racked up 260-plus yards against Kansas State, and that's a good Kansas State defense. Better than TCU's defense, in my opinion. I do think TCU will keep it close. It'll be a late possession game, but I like Texas, and I like this run game. Quinn. I think Quinn will play good, and I think Coach Sark will have Texas in the right spot. TCU is a cool story. Hansel and Gretel, Little Red Riding Hood, Jake. But I do think they lose this game at Texas.
Well, if they do win this game, if TCU is able to win this game, I don't know who they have after. I think they got to go
Baylor?
to Baylor.
At Baylor.
Ooh. We talked about this the other day. It is not a walk in the park at the end of the year. Let's finish the Big 12 here. Baylor, huge win in my opinion. They were kind of sliding. You saw them go to Oklahoma. And guys, listen, I know Oklahoma's 2-4 in the Big 12. I know they're 5-4 overall. I was very high on them before the season. Didn't honestly realize how slow they were in the secondary and at the linebacker position. If there's one thing that Brent Venables has to fix going into this next season, whether it's through the portal, whether it's through giving freshmen a chance, which isn't the greatest formula if you're trying to stack a second year after you struggled the first year, you've got to get some speed on that defense in the back end. I have not seen and we've watched Oklahoma teams give up a lot of points, right? We've watched them in the past be a team that could score a lot of points, but they give up a lot of points. I mean, how many Red River shootouts have we seen that were legitimate shootouts where neither team could stop anybody? But it was because they're missing tackles. And people were making crazy catches, or they were busting coverages in the back end. It wasn't that you were just getting run by, that you just weren't fast enough, that you just weren't athletic enough. Oklahoma is not Power 5 caliber in the back end or at linebacker when it comes down to be able to mitigate those 80-yard plays. Typically, how many times, and in the NFL, rarely you see somebody, bust a 70-yard run. Or it's only the guys like Tyreek Hill that are just freaks, that are abnormally fast, are able to hit those home runs. Well, when you get into high-level football, very rarely do you see teams outside of throwing the ball deep. All right, you beat the corner. I'm hitting them in stride. It's a 70-yard touchdown. I have not seen a team get beat more on inside zone, outside, on runs that go for 60 yards, on slants that go for 70 yards, on swings where you break one tackle and outrun the whole defense that has angles. And I'm not talking about just Texas. Okay, I'm not talking about just teams with speed. It seems like everybody. I can go back to the UTEP game for Oklahoma and be like, why are we so slow? Well, why do we look the same speed as UTEP on the outside? That has to be fixed before Oklahoma, if Oklahoma is going to have a chance, because I know Venables is a defensive guy. All right, Dylan Gabriel meeting with Levy. Offense really hadn't been the problem outside of when Gabriel was hurt, but you got to give kudos to Baylor. You got to give kudos to Dave Aranda, a.k.a. One Punch Man. Gabriel threw 3 interceptions. Yeah. You forced those defensively. That's Oklahoma did have a 100-yard rusher, but, I mean, hell, Williams goes for almost 200 on the ground and 2 touchdowns. Jones goes for 50 on 9 carries and a touchdown. Neighbors had a touchdown. I mean, Blake Shapen went 14-23 for 132 and a pick, so it wasn't like they balled. They just out-physicaled Oklahoma, especially there at the end.
Yeah, it's just tough to beat it's tough to beat Baylor with 3 interceptions, man. It just really is.
I mean, it's not a surprise. Let's look through this Oklahoma defense. Give 38 to Baylor, you give up 42 to Kansas, get beat 49-0 against Texas, give up 55 against TCU, and give up 41 against Kansas State. They're bad.
Mm-hmm.
They're just bad. They've been bad all year. And it's the same thing with Oklahoma. It's the same story. But if you're an Oklahoma fan, let Brett fix it. All right. Let Coach fix it. If there's a coach out there, defensive wide, who can get players and scheme against offenses, is Coach Venables. It'll take time, but you just don't have the guys right now. You just don't have the guys. And it shows. And he'll fix it, but it just takes time. Oklahoma offense will be fine. Their defense will get better. It's patience.
Remember, if you donate, we asked that question as well. Make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button in the chat. Really, really popping today. Guys, real quick on the periphery before we shift to the NFL here. Illinois, what a huge win by Mel Tucker and Michigan State against all odds. I mean, you have guys suspended for jumping a guy in the tunnel. It's looking bad. People are questioning, should you have got that contract last year? I think it should still be questioned. But Illinois at home, you're ranked to almost top 15. You got a chance to win the Big Ten West or put yourself in a great position to win it. And you go out and lay an egg offensively. You don't score in the second quarter or the third quarter. You did score 8 in the fourth, but you go out and lay an egg against a Michigan State team, guys, that isn't very good. This was the most surprising result of the day for me. When I looked at it from the total, it wasn't Georgia beating Tennessee. It wasn't Alabama losing at LSU. It was this game. I was surprised Chase Brown was shut down. And we know the Michigan State offense has been anemic. I mean, DeVito did go for 288. I mean, he's 25 of 37 for 288 and 2 touchdowns. Chase Brown goes for 33 carries, 136 yards. But Cone, you couldn't score, and that's what cost you.
Well, I'm going to get into this a little bit more tomorrow in our best and worst, but if you're a Michigan State fan right now, you have to be pretty proud, okay? Because this season hasn't worked out like you were hoping that it would. Last week with the fight in the tunnel against Michigan was an embarrassment, and your coach responds by suspending 8 players, taking the disciplinary action, and you go on the road and beat the number 1 team in the Big Ten West. It's a very impressive win for Michigan State, so hats off to them and their fan base.
Blaine?
I mean, the Big Ten West is wide open, boys.
Yep.
Could Iowa sneak in there? Huh?
If Iowa wins the Big Ten
Not
West,
again. We did this last
We have
year.
to look. If Iowa wins the Big Ten West, we
It's a 30 for 30.
How much trash do we got to talk about the Big Ten West? Like,
No,
I'm going to be honest with you, Cone,
here's my
it's
solution.
a bad look for the
Here's
Big
my
Ten
solution.
if Iowa wins the Big Ten.
Here's my solution, boys.
No divisions.
No, keep the divisions. Okay, this is what everyone was talking about yesterday. Get rid of the divisions. Keep the divisions, and we go to a relegation system. All right, the winner of the worst team in the Big Ten East then has to go play in the Big Ten West the next season. Fair enough.
I'm all for it.
Look, I just don't want divisions. Just take away divisions. Let's let the top 2 teams.
It's coming.
I know the SEC. It's going to happen. The Pac-12 got rid of divisions. Everybody get rid of it. Let's get rid of the divisions.
And you're going to see
even in math classrooms.
You're going to see the significance of the Pac-12 getting rid of divisions. We're going to see the significance of that this year because let's say USC does beat UCLA and beats Notre Dame, but doesn't have Oregon on the regular season schedule. You're going to have to go play Oregon. And then that's either going to be a great win for Oregon or a great win for Southern Cal, or if UCLA gets in there, you're going to see the significance of that for playoff implications down the line here.
Yeah, and I do want to give a shout out to Lance Leipold and Kansas on being bowl eligible after they swacked Oklahoma State and their backup quarterback who looked like he was 11 years old yesterday. I thought Spencer Sanders was playing. Why did y'all lie to me? Bet should have been void. Bet should have been void at the beginning. I took Oklahoma State -1, and y'all bring out I can't remember his last name. It was like Hangle or something that you knew it wasn't going to work. You come in and you throw 2 interceptions in your first 2 possessions, including 1. I don't even know where you were attempting to throw the ball. But Kansas, with Mr. Bean there at quarterback, the backup, we know Jalen Daniels is out for the year, absolutely motorboated Oklahoma State the whole way through. I mean, you look at the numbers. I mean, it's disgusting if you're an Oklahoma State fan. Mike Gundy and them have fallen off a cliff. I mean, you get beat 37-16. You get outscored in the first quarter 10-0, second quarter 14-7, third quarter 7-3, fourth quarter 6-6. Y'all couldn't win a quarter.
Hey, Mike Gundy's a man. You better watch out.
Yeah, well, I look at some point, you know, we put a ton of respect on Kansas's name, but at what point does Derek Mason need to retire from football? I'm just telling you right now, like the minute Oklahoma State replaced Jim Knowles with Derek Mason, I knew they were in trouble. I mean, Derek Mason gets ran. His defenses get ran through like the finish line at a track meet.
All right, let's give me those eyes real quick.
I can barely keep up with the chat here, Blaine. We got a lot of action.
Yeah,
here.
welcome to my life, buddy.
JJ says, "Bro, Michigan got stalled by Rutgers." LOL. I mean, hey, a 52-17 is getting stalled. I'll take that every week.
Yeah, look, if that's Joseph Stalin if we're really looking at it. But look, Michigan didn't play great early. I think the weather had a little bit to do with that too. We talk about it with Ohio State, but you see Michigan was able to pull away at the end, show that they were the better team. I do want to give a shout out to North Carolina and Drake May. They were able to hang on in kind of a wonky game against Virginia. Brennan Armstrong, I think he's going to get a shot in the NFL. He's not the best thrower, but man, is he a good runner. Like he is just a absolute physical runner. I mean, he took one to the goal line yesterday where he met you with 100 or 220 pounds of, hey, I'm pissed off and I want to score.
He's got Taysom Hill written all over him.
He's got Taysom Hill written all over him. That's a great point. The rest on the periphery, Penn State was able to handle Indiana. You've got USC, like I said, barely took care of California, gave up 35 points. I just don't trust that USC defense. And then Oregon, guys, you scored 14 in the first, 14 in the second, 14 in the third, 7 in the fourth. I know Colorado's a steaming pile of poo, but Bo Nix, figured it out.
He's the guy from Holds. Don't worry, he'll fix it.
Don't worry, he'll fix it.
All right. Can I get to these donations, fellas, or do y'all want to get in the chat and say?
Yeah.
Okay, everybody good? All right.
Yes.
Lindsay K, a $20 donation. Appreciate it,
Lindsay.
Lindsay. You didn't have anything under that. But then I scrolled down. You gave another $10 donation. Lindsay
you,
K
Lindsay.
says, guys, thank y'all so much for the show. It has made me love sports again without all the woke. Just sports. What do y'all see as the LSU trajectory for next year? We're already talking about next year. Y'all got a long way to go this year.
Look. I'd focus on this year, but your trajectory is, guess what? Organized and accountable. And you have a direction. Like I said, it must be so nice for LSU fans to watch their team continue to get better throughout the season and win big games, as opposed to what we saw with Ed O, where they would fall apart the later the season went on. This team has an identity. This is the word. I need every LSU fan to look me in the eyes right now and vibe with me for a second. This is the worst roster that Brian Kelly will ever have at LSU. I want you to think about that. They're ranked in the top 10. They just beat Alabama at home. They're in a position now to win the SEC West. They control their destiny to win the SEC West. And this is the least amount of time he's had with the team. This is the least amount of players he's recruited. And this is the least amount of organization he's been able to input onto a team at LSU. And he is in year one. I want you to think, if you want to get excited about something, getting excited about beating Alabama is one thing. Okay? Getting excited about being in the top 10 is one thing. But if you're going to get excited about something, get excited about this. This is going to be the norm for LSU. They are not going to this year, from a personnel standpoint, this is the worst LSU will be off in a long time. Brian Kelly is adding to the monster. You have 2 freshman tackles. Jaden Daniels continues to get better, but we know Brian Kelly is going to keep bringing in quarterbacks and athletes that will benefit LSU and that will give them a chance to win big games like this. Mason Taylor's a freshman. Malik Neighbors is a freshman. Look at the recruiting class you haven't already. LSU fans, you want to get excited about something? Get excited about the future. And LSU, you are back.
Well, she also asked, will LSU win out this year?
Read me the rest of the schedule.
They go to Arkansas. They go to Arkansas, UAB at home, and then at Texas A&M.
I mean, you got to feel good about being able to go 3-0 there. I mean, Arkansas is still reeling. You look at the injuries we talk about. There's 3 teams, I think, that jump off the rip to me when it comes to an injury perspective that this year has been the teams that we can see the injuries have affected the most. Arkansas, without a doubt, is one of them. I don't think you can look at that team and say it always bites a couple people. It just depends on who you are. Another team is Boston College. I don't know if another team has been more beat up at more important positions than Boston College is right now. When you look at the offensive line, you look at the quarterback position, you got Zay Flowers, who's a witch on offense. And then the third team, to me, when you look at it from an injury standpoint, it's a little bit of A&M, but A&M made a horrible quarterback decision with Haynes King, and we're watching them fall off the boat right now. Speaking of that, guys, we do need to give a little shout out. Blaine, finish the donations, and we'll talk Florida A&M.
All right, let's go to Matthew Watson, $1.99 donation. Says, "Go Vols! Can't wait to whip Ohio State in the playoffs."
Ooh,
bold statement. Colin, let's see if it pays off. Owen Donahue, $5 donation. He says, "What is your college football top 5 rankings?" He says his are Georgia 1, Ohio State 2, TCU 3, Michigan 4. Tennessee 5, Oregon 6, Ole Miss 7, Clemson 8, Bama 9, LSU still at number 10.
I would say 1 for me is Georgia, 2 for me is Michigan, 3 for me is Ohio State, 4 for me is TCU, 5 for me is Tennessee. And you asked for my top 5, so that's what you're going to get.
That's what I have as well.
Awesome. Let's go to return to Glory 88, $4.99 donation. Says Irish dominate Tigers. Will Dabo ever win a game in South Bend? It's rhetorical. He will not. Freeman versus Brian Kelly in 2025 Natty. Irish by 1 million.
That would be an absolute showdown, and I would not be surprised. I would not. And if Notre Dame got there,
Amid, $13.99 donation. He says LSU money line. Love the show, guys. Appreciate it, brother.
Appreciate it.
Let's go to Brandon. Parentheses. Yo, that's rough. $5 donation. Amazing football day yesterday, but looking forward to today. Do you think Jones versus Zappel is the right conversation, or do my Patriots have a bigger fish to fry?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I got the Patriots defense today in fantasy, so I need y'all to ball. I think you still got to let Mac ride this thing out. Again, Bailey Zappi came in the other day and was good. And I know one of the interceptions wasn't his fault, but he kind of went Klubnik there at the end, if we're going to call a spade a spade. It wasn't like he came in there and absolutely just balled to the wall where you're like, whoa, Mac Jones can't put it back in there. Bailey Zappi, you got to finish it for us. Not that his last name's pronounced like that, but it's just a lot more fun to say it like that. I think Mac Jones needs to be the guy. It's a fun conversation to have, but the Patriots don't get more weapons around. Look, Devontae Parker's a nice weapon, but look, I don't want to just defend my house with a pistol. Like, give me an AK, give me a Beretta, give me one of those robots with the mount on the back that can shoot from the top of my house. So
Jacoby Myers pretty good.
I mean, yeah, but
he's good. Hunter Henry tied in.
Are those going to win? Those guys going to win the Super Bowl? Are those guys good enough for Mac Jones?
No, Mac Jones not
going
to give you a Super Bowl.
I think Mac Jones, if you put the right weapons around him, could win you a Super Bowl. You just don't have the weapons. What's Mac going to do? Run for it? Like what?
Hey, Mac is elite afoot running. You know.
Yeah, no, he's not elite afoot or fleet afoot.
All right, let's go. Carl Dunn, $5 donation. He says top 5 win in Tiger Stadium history. Roll Tide. What? Beep. You. LOL.
I can't wait for the call-ins. We're going to be able to do call-ins on the show, and it's going to be absolutely hilarious.
All right, Christopher Ard, $2 donation says, I'm an OU fan. What do you think of Venable's start? We kind of hit that earlier. Did anyone of y'all want to still hit that?
No, I think you're going to be fine. You just got to get more athletic guys at the linebacker and in the secondary position. I think this is one of those situations where you've got to get them a little bit of time. If you're having the same problems next year, then I would start to get worried. But I think Brent, with the mixture of the transfer portal and just who he is with that team, with a true offseason where you're the head coach from the beginning of the offseason through winter workouts, through spring practice, through summer workouts, through fall camp, I think you'll see the identity of that defense change a little bit. He can't make them faster like this year. Like he just can't wave a magic wand and be like, all right, Trevor, you be faster. See what you did right. It's like he's watching film. He's like, see what happened right here was you weren't fast enough. I need you to be fast. You need to be faster. It's like you were covering the right guy, but he's just better at athletic things than you.
All right, let's go to Chat and Bussy. $1.99 donation. Do y'all think FSU finishes the season ranked? I mean, what are their losses against Wake, Clemson, and NC State, right?
Speaking about Wake, got to give some love to NC State last night, right? Like, I mean, NC State with Chambers, the Chambers of Secrets over there at NC State was able to roll it out and get a dub. But if you're Wake, man, they have been so schizophrenic.
3 more interceptions yesterday, Jake.
I mean,
that's 8 turnovers, or that's 11 turnovers in the past 2 games. There's only 4 quarters in a game, boys.
Yeah, do you feel like, though, he is just trying to legitimately he's just like, I am the only way we're going to win. Hold on. Let me throw this into somewhere, like at some point. But I think Sam Hartman is a guy that's going to have a chance in the NFL. I really do. Yeah, but it seems to me like he's trying to force everything right now, and it doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter how strong your arm is, doesn't matter how high your acumen or football IQ is. When you start trying to force balls where they shouldn't at this high level of a football, somebody is going to make you pay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm glad Sam's back and healthy and is playing.
No,
let's go to Jay Hayes.
I like the Florida State finish ranked question because I was going to ask this earlier. They're 6-3 right now. They go on the road to Syracuse. They got Louisiana Lafayette at home, and then they have Florida at home. I mean, we could potentially be looking at a 9-3 Florida State team there, no?
Well, if Syracuse keeps having to play Del Rio Wilson at quarterback, who is basically like just putting a scooter with a ball attached to it back there and just turning it on and hoping it works out well, I don't see how they're going to be able to score enough points against Florida State, who Jordan Travis, guys, we talk about the jump Hendon Hooker's made, and to me, he's made the biggest jump. We've talked about other quarterbacks. Very few quarterbacks have made a big of a jump from an efficiency standpoint, from a knowing where to go with the ball standpoint, and from being a legitimate threat from the pocket. Not only just outside, Jordan Travis continues to be a legitimate threat, and they got Johnny Wilson on the outside. Florida State has athletes. We know that. It's been the organization of them and then not doing stupid things, whether it's turnovers on offense like we saw last year, then a little bit in this rut that they had. They reverted a little bit. But I tell you what, Mike Norvell, you can go win this one at Syracuse, especially with their backup quarterback. You're looking at being 8-3. Hosting a Florida team that just had a nice win over A&M. You win that one. I don't see how Florida State isn't ranked, and it gives them a lot of momentum with that brand new football facility that's getting built, as well as having a good 9-3 season. That's what Mike needed down there, especially with all the momentum that Mario brought into Miami, which they left. And you just kick the hell out of your arch rival. Mario's first year, you go to their place, walk into his house, take his remote, get a steak out of the fridge, make his wife cook it while you watch Jeopardy and have a good time. So you got to feel good if you're Florida State right now.
And you would have a win over potentially the SEC West champ.
How good does that LSU win look right now? In New Orleans?
Essentially a de facto home game.
Yeah, de facto home game.
For sure, yeah.
That's exactly right. All
right, let's go to Jay Hayes, $5 donation. He says, I wonder if Driscoll at Notre Dame stands by his comments on BK and his fit at LSU still. Probably not. Let's all point and laugh. Let's go to, we got more. Scrolling. All right, here we go. Troy Jacobs, what's up, Troy? $5 donation. Says, how much you guys love Oregon's under center short yardage game and the unstopped QB sneak? Well, I know Cone loves it.
I love everything about what Oregon's doing right now.
Dude, I tell you what, how can you not? Kenny Dillingham finally got his chance to call plays and be the guy on offense. And boy, Dan Lanning is letting him do whatever he wants. And he should. It's just, I mean, Bo Nix caught a pass yesterday for a touchdown, ran for one, threw for one. He pulled a Christian McCaffrey. Is focused and having fun. That's for sure. But look, Oregon to me, and I think this shows you how ready Dan was to be a head coach. You come out week one and get absolutely pantsed by Georgia in front of everybody. Your first game as a head coach at a big place, and you're just like, I get Georgia, you get beat 49-3. The way he was able to rally that team, and not only Bo Nix, and I know the Pac-12 is easier than the SEC, but when I watch Oregon play, it looks like Oregon is having a ton of fun. Like, doesn't wait. It looks like Oregon is really enjoying playing, especially offensively. You're getting it from different guys. Bo's running it, but it looks like this team really enjoys playing with each other, and they really believe. I would really want to know right now if Oregon played Georgia on a neutral site. Not saying Oregon would win, but a true neutral site. I guarantee you it's not 49-3.
I think it'd be closer too, Jake.
I think it'd be closer. Again,
I thought the same thing.
Huh?
I thought the same thing. This is the Oregon team I bet on.
Look, I think Georgia would still beat them anywhere, though.
Yeah, but not 49-3. Dude.
Not 49-3.
Fair enough. But hey, look, here's the rest of the Oregon schedule, because the schedule has been very favorable for them. You got UCLA at home, right? And I think that's their best win so far. Now you're going to get Washington at home. You're going to get Utah at home, and then you have to go on the road to Oregon State. That'll be a tough game, tough rivalry game. And then you'll have a neutral site Pac-12 championship. So do you guys think Oregon gets through that unscathed? That's before tough games in a row.
That I'm going to tell you right now, that Oregon State game, I'm just telling you, that Oregon State game is a little weird. Oregon State's got one of those teams too. They got a quarterback that's not really good, but he's not terrible. He's got a little bit of that witch in him. He's kind of cockeyed a little bit too. You never know where he's looking. It's just Oregon State's a little sneaky. Corvallis, I believe that game's on the road, Cone.
Corvallis one, yeah.
It's in Corvallis. That one, you can get by that one. But like, that one almost worries me more than the Pac-12 championship game, as crazy as that sounds. Now, I will say this, guys. Pac-12 has no divisions, okay? And if you look at those standings, if you're Oregon, you do not want to see UCLA again. You do not want to see them again. You want to see anybody but UCLA. And UCLA still got to play USC, so they can knock USC out of it. UCLA beat Utah. UCLA right now controls their own destiny to go play Oregon again. Don't forget, Oregon kicked a surprise onside kick in the first half, recovered it, then they got out ahead of UCLA. UCLA was scoring, but they were having to play catch up. It kind of took Charbonnet out of it a little bit from them dictating the pace and the tempo. They were playing catch up the whole game. If you're Oregon, I do not want to see DTR and Charbonnet and Jake Bobo and all those guys again. I do not want to see them again.
I'll tell you another reason why you would want to see USC in the Pac-12 championship rather than UCLA is because with that 49-3 loss at Georgia, you need to stack as many great wins as possible to have a chance to play yourself into a playoff conversation. And if you beat Washington and Utah back-to-back, go on the road in Corvallis and beat Oregon State, you already have the win over UCLA. And then you add a win in the Pac-12 championship over a brand like Southern Cal. And that Southern Cal team may be a one-loss team at that point. That, to me, that'd be 4 really great wins in a row for Oregon.
No,
I love it. Let's go to Farm Mike, $2 donation. He says, Ryan Walters to Colorado as head coach.
I think that'd be a great hire for Colorado. I'm so big on Ryan Walters, Zach Arnett, the DC from Mississippi State. Jim Leonard, I think, is about to get the Wisconsin job. He's the interim. They had a nice win against Maryland yesterday. I think he's the guy they wanted to replace Chris. They just went ahead and made the move and wanted to give him a little bit of an interim tag to see, which I think is BS. I think that sucks. If I'm Jim Leonard or if I'm one of these DCs and I've been waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting, and then you give me a team that is not truly my team. I'm the defensive coordinator, but I didn't put this whole team together. I didn't have an identity on this team. And then you make me the interim and you say like, all right, well, here's your chance. What do you mean, here's my chance? If that's the case, let me be the interim for the rest of this year. Give me an off season. Let me be the head guy next year. That sucks to throw an interim tag on me on a team that's not even mine and say, all right, well, prove to us you can do it. Well, apparently I've proven enough to you that you just fired a guy that has a winning record in the Big Ten who's done it a certain way. We've had a couple bad years, likely because Graham Mertz can't throw it from me to you. But if I'm Jim Leonard, I'm like, no, either make me the head coach. I don't want this bull crap interim tag. You're giving me a team that's not mine. How are you going to judge me off something that's not mine? That's like trying to judge whether I'm a good jump shooter by making me shoot it like somebody else. You're never really going to know. Let me operate the team. Let me be the guy. So I think Ryan Walters, I know Illinois just paid him and they should have, but Ryan Walters is going to get a chance, and I think he's going to be a stud. I think he's a little bit of a Marcus Freeman vibe style type in the making, in that he's not as kind of out there on social media as Marcus is, but boy, he gets it, and Ryan can absolutely make adjustments during the game. And if you watch, I know Illinois didn't play good against Michigan State yesterday, but from a fundamental standpoint, from a knowing where to go, knowing which gap is mine, knowing who to cover, knowing when to switch, knowing where my eyes are, knowing do I need to how to jam with the inside hand, pop step with the inside foot. They do the little things right. I think that translates to being a head coach too. I'm excited to see Ryan's career blossom down the road.
All right, we had Lindsay K with the $2 donation. We hit that earlier while LSU went out. Let's go to Mason Rosh with a $10 donation. Hey, love you guys. Love you, Mason.
Love you.
Late as always, but I was
Mason.
wondering your guys' opinion on Drake May and UNC. I know they play in the ACC Coastal, but no matter who you play, it's still hard to go 8-1.
Look, I know he's not coming out this year. He's number one pick. He's number one pick.
Cold.
Like I'm not one of these people that gets way ahead and is like, all right, but sometimes you just have to. I've watched Drake May from the beginning of this season at North Carolina. There's a reason he is committed to Bama. He literally checks every box. He checks every box. Right now, I like him better than I like Justin Herbert as a young guy. There's some similarities there, but I think Drake May's a better runner. I think he's more athletic. But when you watch, and it's not just the throws. It's not just the vertical ball that he can lollipop in there from 65 yards. It's not watching him bang the dig in between the linebackers and the safeties. It's not watching him run around and improvise and make crazy plays on the outside and crazy throws. It's the consistent decision-making that is borderline dangerous, but is 100% effective. What do I mean by that? He is not afraid to make any throw, but he will not attempt to make every throw. There's an old saying that quarterbacks use that I think is brilliant. There's two of them. You never go broke making a profit, which he'll continue to learn that. And just because you can do something doesn't mean that you do it. I think Drake May shows an unbelievable amount of maturity and poise and knows when to say when. He knows when to fit that ball in there. He knows when to throw the anticipatory throw, and he knows when to tuck it and go get 5 yards. A couple things that I think would make him, and getting Josh Downs back. I mean, look at what Downs did yesterday. He just went absolutely nuts against Virginia. Drake May to me right now is a better prospect, and I'm going to say this, than any quarterback in college football right now, 3-4 years down the road.
I'm not going to push back on that. I'm not. Let me read you these stats real quick from Drake May. 2,900 passing yards so far, 31 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and just in case you think he's just a gunslinger, 70% completion percentage.
Dude.
I mean, that's more yardage and more TDs than any quarterback we've talked about today, and fewer interceptions than any quarterback except for Hendon Hooker. And I think one other quarterback we talked about also had 2 interceptions.
And he's what, 6'5"?
Max Duggan.
6'6"?
Max. So Max, I just looked Max's up. I think it was 20. I think Max's was 2,700 yards, 24 picks, and 24 TDs and 2 picks. Let me look it up again.
Okay, I think it's what was it? I think it's 2,400, 27 touchdowns, and 2 picks.
Yeah, okay.
Well,
So
and one's a freshman, and one's been at TCU since 1984.
Yeah, Drake May's like
13.
and
I think TCU has better weapons right now. And you combine all that, and I don't think North Carolina's a great football team this year, but he's on a one-loss team right now.
Guys,
he's a big reason. Like, this kid could win the Heisman as a redshirt.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, if we're going to talk about, all right, if we're going to say that the Heisman is the most valuable player to like one of the teams that's contending the most, which team needs their player more than North Carolina? Look at that defense. You gave up, what, 61 to App State? Like what? When we're talking about importance to a team, is there a player out there that's more important to their team than Drake May? I mean, let's be honest. Like, name one. I don't think it's Bijan Robinson. Quinn Ewers is still a dog. Gillette's still a dog. Worthy's still a dog.
Next.
I mean, you could make that argument, but Oregon still has some weapons on the outside, and Dan Lanning is a defensive guy. I mean, North Carolina on defense gave up 28 to Virginia. Yeah. Virginia couldn't score if I gave them the ball at the 1 and just waited on the sideline with Capri Suns and orange slices for 3 hours.
Possibly Blake Corum at Michigan, because he's just so involved in their identity, what they want to do. I think you take Blake Corum off of Michigan, and they're not the same team, and I would say the same thing about Drake May at North Carolina.
But it's incredible to watch. All right, did we miss anything in college football? Anybody tell us before we
So I have a few things here. Let's
Go
see.
ahead,
so Penn State, Sean Clifford has a chance to break Penn State's all-time passing record next week at home.
Got his ass replaced during the middle of the game, and Drew Aller threw touchdown passes. So
but
two touchdown passes.
Was that because James Franklin wanted him to break the record at home? That was the conversation.
Yeah,
right?
I'm just big on Drew Aller. Ever since I saw him come in, that I forgot which game it was. I think it was like week 2 or week 3, and I saw him come in, and they're like, "Yeah, we have this huge tree that's throwing at 100 miles per hour."
He is a big kid, man. Georgia State smacked Southern Miss around, man. That was a nice win for them. Texas A&M, like we talked about, this is their 5th straight loss. That's the longest streak since 1980. Liberty over Arkansas.
Yes.
We talked about. The inaugural Booster Bowl. South Alabama goes to Statesboro, beat Georgia Southern. Hey, we'll get them next year, Jake. We'll get them next year.
Go into Statesboro.
Oh, and then SMU Houston.
Hey, David,
how about the points? How about the points in the SMU Houston game?
Hey, how about that Georgia Southern loss at home against South Alabama? I see you trying to change the subject. Hold on.
Enough time
no. Hold on. Give me a second. David down Statesboro. Man, I'm so sorry. You guys got South all in your mouth. Just kidding. I'm not sorry. I
had the Eagles +4.
Look,
+4.
Oh. You don't just talk trash about the Jags, and you don't think that they're going to walk into Statesboro and just absolutely rip the hopes and dreams. And I hope the provost at Georgia Southern was devastated by that loss.
Dorothy Mantooth is a saint. Okay.
No. In reality, though, we do got to say something about Liberty, though. I know we said it earlier. Guys, come on. Auburn, come on.
No, Auburn's too good for Hugh Freeze.
No, like
Auburn's
what else do you want? What else do you want? Look, he called some prostitutes on the school phone. All right, who hasn't? All right, it was a mistake. But you know what?
It wasn't him.
It wasn't him. Allegedly. It was allegedly him. It wasn't him. I think yesterday, after Liberty going to Arkansas and beating them, proves that Hugh Freeze, it was not him on the phone.
I think so too.
I think, but who cares? Look, if you're going to beat teams like that, if you're going to beat Arkansas consistently, you can use my phone. You can use my phone to call him.
I'll call him for you.
Blaine will call him for you.
Yeah.
Blaine will call him. He's got him on speed dial.
I won't even have to call him. I'll just show up with them there. Like there'll be no phone usage.
That's just awful.
All word of mouth.
Blaine will show up and like
the
prostitutes' names are
He's just focused on winning games now.
Like plays, like the prostitute names. It's not like Cinnamon or Destiny.
So hey, Hugh, this is 12 personnel.
Why stick? This is why stick.
Because you paid for it. That's why.
Hey, this is Sprint Right option right here.
That's
exactly.
Let's get off this.
You want me to get through these donations real quick?
Yes, before I get in trouble.
All right, David won $10 donation. Being that Ohio State, Michigan will have one loss, does Tennessee make it top 4 if they win out? One word answer.
Yes.
David?
No.
All right. Let's go to Cap Echo with a $5 donation. Is Michigan the only team that can be as physical as Georgia right now?
I mean, they're the 2 most physical teams in the country, right?
They match up well. They're very similar. Very similar.
Spider-Man GIF a little bit?
All right, let's go to Emmanuel C. $2 donation. Does Tulane's Willie Fritz get a Power 5 job?
Look, Willie used to beat us. Speaking of Georgia Southern, he beat us pretty good when he was there. Man, I do think Willie would leave and take a big-time Power 5 job. But, man, is he a great fit at Tulane. I kind of hope he stays. I wouldn't be shocked if you started hearing Colorado. You start hearing that name a little bit. Willie Fritz, somebody like that.
That's all the donos, fellas.
All right, guys, let's move over to NFL real quick. Go ahead, hit that like, hit that subscribe button, turn that notification bell on too. Remember, we go live each morning, 7:30 to 9 Eastern. Got some great guests this next week. Matt Moscona is coming on Monday. We're obviously going to keep talking college football. Astros winning it, the Yankees not being in it, which is fantastic as well.
Hey, did Shapiro say Astros in 6?
I said Astros in 6.
What did Shapiro say?
In 5.
In 5.
Okay, good.
Right.
He can come on the show and hit another one.
Yeah, well, Warriors Celtics? He got that Warriors in 6?
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys, let's speed through these. If you got fantasy questions, put them to the side. Remember, if you donate, we will read your fantasy question or question regardless. The quicker and first, however you want to put it. All right, Chargers at the Falcons. Guys, I'm going to tell you right now, I know we're going to get to our show bets in the end. Falcons are 4-4, 3-1 at home. The Chargers are beat up. Keenan Allen had a setback. Sorry, Blaine. It seems like he's always getting setback on the shelf.
Setback.
The whole season's a setback. It looks like Carter's hurt on the outside. Mike Williams isn't playing. Guys, I just Marcus Mariota, the Chargers are 2.5-point favorites. Why would I not take Falcons money line right now?
Yeah, it's plus 120 Falcons money line right now.
Yeah. Like
Cordero
Patterson. Cordero Patterson's coming back off IR. The Falcons' strong run game. It's not just Marcus Mariota in the run game as well. We know Kyle Pitts hasn't exploded the way that some people thought, but you like Drake London, what he brings to the team, and Cordero Patterson, the 60-year-old running back who continues to just be a monster in the league. I kind of like the Falcons at home tonight. But you got Austin Eckler, Coney?
I have Austin Eckler.
It's you versus Blaine this week.
Yes, me against Blanethan there, and I have a little Austin Eckler head-to-head matchup against Pitts on one of my bets that I'll get to.
Ooh, you love to see it. All right, Dolphins at the Bears. This would be a hell of a matchup in real life. Don't know how this fight would go down. Dolphins 5-3, Bears 3-5. Bears coming off a nice win at the Patriots. They were able to force some turnovers. Can they slow down Miami enough? They just got rid of Roquan Smith. Let's remember that now. He's a leading tackler in the NFL. So if you're going to try and stop Miami's pass game, that intermediate short game, you need to stop the run and make them one-dimensional. Will they be able to stop the run enough with Jeff Wilson coming on over from San Francisco there, Cone Nathan?
Yeah, look, I like the Dolphins in this game, even on the road right now. It's -4. On the money line is -210, but you could even get the Dolphins down to, if you felt comfortable about getting the hook under the field goal, you could get Dolphins -2.5 at -160. So I like Miami on the road.
Blaine?
Give me Miami. Miami, I mean, they get Chubb comes over for that defense. They're making a push for the Super Bowl too. Give me Miami.
All right, I like that. Panthers at the Bengals. Guys, at some point, look, this Panthers dream is going to kind of come to an end a little bit. The Bengals, not coming off the greatest game against the Browns. Joey B wanting to get back in the good graces. Joe Mixon didn't score a touchdown and cost me $6,000 last week. I'll never forgive you. But in Cincinnati, the Bengals are a 7-point favorite. I may or may not have bet on this game. I struggle to find a way to see that PJ Walker and this offense, especially what happened last week, NFC South lead on a division lead on the line. You lose it like that, missing the field goals. Eddie Pinheiro with the golden sombrero, missing 2 field goals there late. I just don't see a way in which the Panthers win this game.
Well, I like the Bengals to win the football game, but 7 seems like a lot. I mean, PJ Walker's found a little bit of magic here ever since they've sold off all their assets for the Panthers. I know the game's on the road for them, but I don't know. A full touchdown seems like a lot. What do you think, Blaine?
I'm going Panthers money line, baby.
There you go.
Plus 270.
Panthers money line?
Panthers ML plus 275.
Is this a show bet?
Well, that's bold.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll see if it pays off after the way they played. I mean, PJ Walker's balling right now.
Yeah.
And it's not like you're walking into a fierce Bengals defense, not a beat-up offense and a beat-up offensive line, and Joe Burrow on his ass every play after he drops back. And this Panthers defense is good. One of the best in the league. I know it didn't show last week, but one of the best, at least statistically. I mean, you got Hornet corner. I mean, you got guys running around. So give me the Panthers money line. I'm taking some dog bets today, fellas.
Ooh, you're in the doghouse today?
I am.
You'll love to see it. All right, let's go. Next game, Packers Lions. The Packers continue to struggle to find ways to score. They're 3-5, 1-3 on the road. The Lions 1-6 overall. Blaine, is DeAndre Swift going to play?
No one knows.
Nobody knows.
No one knows.
Nobody
At this
knows
point,
at
no one
all.
knows.
Like deep down inside, like God, the over/under's at 49.5.
Don't you feel like this is under
like,
here?
Who's line? Like, what do y'all know? Like, you know,
Well, the
49
Lions have the
and a
worst
half.
defense in the NFL.
What do you guys really know? Like, I'm sitting here. What'd you say, Blaine?
The Lions have the worst defense in the NFL.
Yeah, I know, but I took them on the under the other day. It was like 9-6. It's just I don't trust this. I don't trust this game because I don't know who's playing, and Aaron's due to freak out. It's a fast track. I feel like the sun god's going to go off. I did not take this game in my bets. It is a game where I feel like the Packers should win if they really use Aaron Jones how he needs to be. But Jared Goff hasn't played well in a while. I'm staying away from this one. It's a rivalry game, NFC North division, rivalry. Typically, I feel like we see this game. Don't we play this game on Thanksgiving? Like, isn't this game normally on Thanksgiving? Like Packers Lions, or am I losing my mind?
Was that Packers Bears
Or Lions Bears?
No, I swear it's Packers. Maybe I'm losing my mind. In the chat, tell me. Maybe I'm just absolutely losing my mind. But Blaine, who you got in this one?
Oh, man, I want to pick the Lions. I really do, but it's hard for me to pick Jared Goff versus Aaron Rodgers. I mean, it's just tough. I'm gonna go Aaron. I think Aaron pulls out late. I think Aaron has one of his best games of the season. Give me the Packers.
Somebody asked, go
Lions
ahead.
Lions just sent one of their best players, T.J. Hawkinson, in the division to Minnesota. I'm gonna take the Packers here.
Yeah, I don't think you're crazy. I think somebody in the chat asked to play two of like Christian Kirk and somebody else. I don't know if y'all can see that.
Yeah, it was Christian Kirk. Hold on, it was Christian Kirk, Jacoby Myers, Rondale Moore. Which two do I start?
Give me Christian
Jacoby
Kirk.
Myers.
Give me Jacoby Myers and Rondale Moore.
Really?
Well, Kyler was really fine. Rondale last year. D-Hop coming back should give Rondale a lot of chances in the middle of the field. And Rondale, after the catch, you remember at Purdue, he was 100% witch. But even in the NFL, this guy gets the ball. It's like, boop, 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 gone. It's gone. It's like listening to, what's that, Morse code? Like back in World War II, like when Rondale Moore runs, it's like, boop, boop, beep, 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 beep. Like I think if you looked at one of the end of his runs, it would say like I'm scoring a touchdown as this is happening. But speaking about scoring.
Travis Elrod says the Lions and Cowboys each have a Thanksgiving game. Their opponents always change.
They always change. I just felt like it was always the Packers. I don't know. Maybe it's like the Lakers playing on Christmas Day or something like that. They always do that. Or LeBron in general. All right. Speaking about touchdowns, don't expect a lot in this game, guys. Colts and Patriots. Sam Ehlinger starting for the Colts. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor's out. We've seen the quarterback situation in New England with Bailey Zappi and Mac Jones. I love the under in this game. I like the Patriots to win it outright too, guys. I think Mac has a decent game here. I feel like it's going to be low scoring. It just smells, 24-10-ish.
That's what I thought when they played the Bears too. It didn't work out like that, but I do like the Patriots to win the game here.
Yeah, give me the Pats. I mean, you're at home. It's hard to win up there.
All right, let's go to the next one. Bills, Jets. No Breece Hall for the Jets. They're at home. The Bills obviously adding Nyheim Hines. Interested to see how that works out with Devin Singletary there in the backfield. Still think the Bills are the best team in the NFL in my opinion, even though the Eagles are undefeated, and that roster is hella fire. The Bills are 11-point favorites. Over under is at 46. May have a little play on this game, guys, and it may be the under.
Yeah, I mean, look, you'd have to like the Bills on the road to win the football game. I'm seeing 10.5 right now on DraftKings. Do you think that's a lot for the Jets at home?
Well, with the way the Jets have been playing defense with Sauce Gardner, they're going to be up for this game, coming off a loss. I don't like the spread. I think Buffalo is the better team. I don't like the spread, and I know the Jets are anemic on offense, and now Breece Hall is out. Elijah Moore came back last week. We all know he was sitting out requesting a trade. Now all of a sudden he's found his love for the game again. It's amazing how that happens when you're sitting at 5-2. I like the Bills to win, but guys, I like the under in this game. It's at 46 right now. I think the Bills are good enough to shut the Jets down. The Jets are good enough to stall the Bills a little bit, especially early. So I like the under.
But how about the Jags and Raiders right now in Jacksonville? I know the Jaguars haven't been playing great, but I mean, what have the Raiders been doing to be favored in this game on the road? Right now, you could get Jacksonville plus 115.
Yeah, I don't think you'd be crazy to take Jacksonville. It's still hard for me to believe, and I think you're seeing this with Vegas, that Devontae Adams and Derek Carr are going to go out there and lay another egg like that. I mean, Josh Jacobs on the ground, he's going to give you something in the run. Waller being out has hurt them in the seam.
Yes.
But where's Hunter Renfrow? Like, well, where are all these weapons? I mean, how does Devontae Adams go quiet? Like, a quiet game for Devontae Adams was 80 yards and a touchdown. I mean, last week it was absolutely disgusting to see. It got to the point they just put Jared Stidham in there and said, just get us to the end of this game. Do the Raiders use that as motivation, as an embarrassment to be able to come out and blow the scoreboard up this weekend? Or Devontae Adams tell Taco Bell to get out of his house and then he gets in the end zone? And you look at the Jaguars. I mean, again, beginning of the season, we look at this Jaguars team. We're like, guys, this team could do something. I'm looking at them right now. They're 2-6, looking like the same Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence and them have got to figure it out. Mm-hmm. They're basically moving pieces to get ready for next year. I understand that, but this is a game you can win against the Raiders. I just don't trust the Jags, guys. I just don't.
I'm taking Jags money line, fellas.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know why I wouldn't. It's at home. If anything, if I'm the Jaguars, I'm really keying in on the run for the Raiders. Really not letting Josh Jacobs get out.
I think Josh Jacobs probably 2 bills, 3 tutties,
making Derek Carr really beat you with his arm.
You got Josh Jacobs, Cone?
Yes, with Nick Chubb out, so I need a big-time performance.
So I'm really keyed in on the run if I'm the Jaguars. But you're at home with a team who just scored 0 points. I say this a lot. The Raiders have gotten worse with Devontae Adams. Derek Carr is mid. Derek Carr will never take you to the promised land. You need to get a new quarterback.
All right, Todd James says, why don't the Steelers, for a $5 donation, thank you, Todd, says, why don't the Steelers get rid of Mason if they don't plan on starting him? Talking about Mason Rudolph. Kenny Pickett, Kenny Picks with 8 interceptions, and Trubisky has been average at best. Go Pokes. They will. They'll use him. He'll be trade bait or something to get some picks, I think. I don't know exactly his contractual situation throughout the end of the year, but you always want to have 3 quarterbacks that are effective. Ask the Panthers and PJ Walker right now. When you looked at what they had at the beginning of the year, they'll move on eventually. I think Kenny Pickett needs to be the guy. Mitch is a good backup. Is he the right backup? It seems like him and Kenny do have a really good rapport. He is still young enough to give you a little bit of something, and it takes the pressure off him because he's not truly an NFL starter that can go out and do anything. I think Kenny Pickett is the guy going forward. I love the youth movement in Pittsburgh, a team that typically tries to go win the Super Bowl every year, which I respect the hell out of that. But if you look, Kenny Pickett, I think, has a chance. George Pickens, you feel good about. Najee Harris, you know who he is. You build the rest around him. You build that defense back up. I think the Steelers are in good hands going forward. I don't think it's time to panic. They will make that move eventually. All right, guys, speaking about making moves, Seahawks at Cardinals. The Seahawks are 5-3, 2-2 on the road, which is fantastic in the NFL. The Cardinals 3-5. They're 1-3 at home. You do have DeAndre Hopkins back. I do have Kyler Murray at quarterback. I like the Cardinals in this game. I think the Seahawks come back down a little bit to reality, but with the way Geno Smith's been playing, Kenneth Walker's been not a great surprise at running back. We knew he was talented, but watching him in the explosive plays going from college, looking very similar in the NFL, and they're winning the way Pete Carroll wants to win. Good defense, play action, run game on offense, but I like the Cardinals at home. Cliff Kingsbury figuring it out.
DeAndre Hopkins changes the landscape of the team, right? Just like we knew he would when he came back from suspension. This is one of those ones where I would take Seattle if they were playing in Seattle, but since they're on the road, I think the Cardinals have a better shot to win this game, even though I still don't think with the way the Seahawks are playing, you'd be crazy to take Seattle money line with the plus money right now at 105.
Well, it's like Seattle's playing with nothing to lose, Blaine. They're really going out there.
I mean, Geno Smith has been absolute balling. Who would have thought? Not me, and no one in here either. But I think if you're the Cardinals, we're sticking to our guns here. We're getting Hop involved early and often. I mean, he's the best player on this offense. Kyler trusts him the most. But James Conner coming back is a big deal for the Cardinals.
Oh yeah,
it's huge.
It's huge, and that just it gives another weapon to Cliff Kingsbury. I like the Cardinals. This is one of my show bets. I'm taking the Cardinals money line at home.
Yeah, I don't think that's crazy. All right, 2 more guys. Rams at Bucks.
Yeah.
Man, you really would have thought this Rams-Bucks game would be a lot more high profile. That's the reason, they put it where they put it. I know the Titans play the Chiefs tonight. We'll get to that in a second. But, guys, this game is just now it's just another game. Tampa Bay's a 3-point favorite at home. The over-under's at 42.5. I think this may be somewhat ugly. This may be somewhat low scoring. And Roger, I am giving you a shout out. You can get a shout out right there, my friend. Part of me wants to take the Bucks because they're at home and it's Tom Brady, but I feel like Cooper Kupp may make the plays.
You think so? I mean, look, every week with Tampa Bay, it's like, hey, this is the week the Buccaneers will get over hump. No, this
Yeah.
is the week. Thought even on the road at Carolina,
Mhm.
Blaine, you were like, hey, the Panthers D is good, man. I think the Panthers are going to win this football game. You ended up being right. So every week we keep saying that. Now we're going to have a rematch from a playoff game last season with the Rams, but I don't think we can underestimate how bad this Rams offensive line is, guys. It is, I mean, it is bad. And that, I know how great Cooper Kupp is, but if Matt Stafford doesn't have time to throw the football, I don't know. This could be one of those ones, Jake, where you're talking about take the under in this game and hit even at 42.5. You might be right on that.
Yeah.
Well, I hope not, because I'm taking the over 42.5. I feel like it's one of those things where both these offensive lines are bad, for sure. But I still think Matt Stafford and when Tom Brady, they're on the field, they just elevate each other's gameplay. I really do. I think there's going to be some point score. Cooper Kupp's going to have a big day. Well, I hope, but I think he will be involved early. And I think Tom Brady is going to have a good day. I think these offensive lines are going to have a better version of themselves in this game. So I do like the over in 42.5. I'm thinking 27-24, maybe Bucks.
Yeah, I don't think you're crazy. And that brings us to our last one before we give away our bets. Titans at the Chiefs. Is Ryan Tannehill going to play, guys?
I don't know. To be determined, it sounds like.
Tell us. Please just tell us. How much is the bet if I don't know? Part of me really wants to take the under in this game. I'm going to be honest with you. Because everybody's going to be taking the over. I don't think the Titans can score enough. The Chiefs have done a great job against Derrick Henry in the past. It's really kind of weird. You look at him, he has some teams where he just destroys them, like the Raiders and teams like that. I believe it was the Raiders. And then you have teams like, or the Colts, excuse me, that Derrick Henry destroys. And then you have teams like the Chiefs who've been able to bottle him up a little bit. And if Ryan Tannehill doesn't play, you definitely don't want Malik Willis to get in a shootout with Patrick Mahomes. Kadarius Toney now with the Chiefs with some time. Very interested to see the way Eric Bieniemy and Andy Reid, when he's not too busy drawing mustaches on players that are asleep, how he's going to use them, especially in the red zone. What do you guys think about this, starting with Blaine?
I think Ryan Tannehill's a no-go.
No-go.
You're going to go with
says
Malik
maybe
Willis?
he's questionable right now, but it's kind of trending towards him not playing.
The white Mexican ass, Jake, did you play ball with any guys from Fairhope? Yes, Nate Lammy and Michael Raya. Those are two guys I played with.
On this Titans team, shaky start, back-to-back losses. Our boy Taylor Lewan goes down. They lose him for the season. All they've done since then is win 5 straight games, even with Tannehill going out. So, I'm not saying they're going to go on the road and beat the Chiefs, but when I saw the line at 13.5, or right now at DraftKings is sitting at 12.5, just thought that seemed like a lot of points for a Titans team that runs the football a lot. They want to control the clock, and they've won 5 in a row.
Yeah, I think it's hard to bet against the Chiefs here. 12.5 is a high number. If Malik plays, I think they're going to keep it close to the vest, which is going to make it more low scoring. All right, guys, y'all ready to get to bets and then wrap this bad boy up?
Let's do it.
All right, here's what I got today. After the great month I had last month, still have to give a speech. Yesterday was just not a good day for me. First bad day I've had in a while. Give me the Jets Bills under 47.5. That's at -138. Give me a little 4-team winner parlay here. Cincinnati Bengals, Buffalo Bills, New England Patriots, and Kansas City Chiefs, all to win on the money line at +143. Give me the Falcons +3.5 at home against the Chargers, -136. The Cardinals -2.5 at home against the Seahawks at -106. Then give me the Pats Colts under 42.5. That's at -144. And the Vikings Commanders under 44 at -127. Cone, what do you got?
All right, boys. I'm going to take the Dolphins on the road -0.5. That's at -184. The money line was just above our cap there at -210. So I'm going to take the Dolphins -0.5 point. Then I want the Vikings money line. I want the Seahawks +4.5. Okay, that's at -180 right now. I'm going to go ahead and take the Titans +14.5. That's at -151. Then I have 2 player head-to-heads here. I want Josh Allen -67.5 passing yards against Zach Wilson, and that's at -115. So to win that bet, Josh Allen needs to have 68 more passing yards than Zach Wilson. I feel good about that. And then another head-to-head here is Austin Eckler -0.5 TDs against Kyle Pitts. That's at -110. So to win that bet, Austin Eckler needs to score a touchdown and Kyle Pitts not score a touchdown.
Yeah, not a huge fan of that last bet, to be honest, Dave. Definitely don't need Austin Eckler getting in the end zone. All right, here we go. Went 5-1 yesterday. Somehow. Don't know how, but I did. Give me Jaguars money line. I got them at +115. Give me Panthers money line +270. Give me Bills -6.5 at the cap at -200. Give me Chiefs -7 at the cap -200. All right. Give me the over 42.5 in the Bucks Rams game. That's at -115. And give me the Cardinals money line. That's going off at -120.
All right. There we go. Fantasy, you and Cone, good luck this week, guys. Cone, did you read your bets or am I tripping?
I did read my bets, but one thing from Scott here real quick. Good morning. Before you go off air and enjoy your Sunday, can I get a shout out to the Grants Pass High School for winning their 5th consecutive State of Oregon marching band competition?
Hey, listen, I would like to take this opportunity to tell everybody at Grants Pass High School, congrats, guys, on the dub. You deserved it. You went in there. It was the Ides of March. You saw what I did, and you handled business. Congrats to everybody there. 5th straight. It's a dynasty.
It's a dynasty, boys.
Print the shirts
up.
Is Bill Belichick the band director over there? What's going on? You better not let Tom Brady leave him like he did Giselle. But anyway, we appreciate you guys. Shout out to everybody. Thank you. The chat was fantastic. Make sure you check us every morning, 7:30 to 9 Eastern. That's 6:30 to 8 Central. In North Korea, that's somewhere in between 4 and 7 p.m. We appreciate all you guys. Alaska, we get some love from Alaska here. Hey, guys, love from Alaska. Y'all the best sports show. Should my Panthers give Golden Corral a chance or draft a QB next year? They should give the Golden Corral a chance. You brought him in. Matty Ice, the new one, not the old one, not the one on the shelf in Indianapolis, but let Black Eye Wonder do his thing, the old gunslinger there from Mississippi.
Ball players play ball, baby.
All right, make sure you guys check us out on social media. Go follow Crane and Company on Twitter. Make sure you're subbed to our YouTube channel. You guys are the best. Remember, without you, there is no us. And like the chances. Oh, wait a minute. Blaine, you owe me $100.
That is true.
Oh, yeah, I do. Okay, yeah.
Owes you $100.
You owe me $100. All right, good. I want to make sure we get that.
Now
I can't believe it took you that long to say that.
Keep to try and be shot in the back with a paintball gun this week.
Yes, loser y'all's fantasy has to get shot. What is it? From 15 feet, shot in the back with frozen paintballs, right?
Well, we're somewhere in the 15 to 25 feet range.
Yeah,
okay, so
if
17
I lose his 15 yards, if
Okay.
Blaine loses his 15 feet, 5 paintball shots in the back.
Okay.
Well,
five
if David loses,
steps
I'm
is
just going to
300
sneak up
yards.
behind him and shoot him right in the back of the neck.
Okay,
All
well,
right,
then the bet's void and the retaliation will be something you've never experienced.
Let's start war. Look, I'm all for war. I'll click the red button.
Blaine will do it.
I'll turn
Blaine
the
will click
key.
the red button before you say anything. All right,
Well,
we
it's been
appreciate
a nice
you guys.
life, then.
We got Matt Moscona tomorrow. Make sure you check us out live in the morning. Ton of great college football. We're talking Major League Baseball, all sport rapid fire as well, and our best and worst of the weekend. And hey, may have a play breakdown segment. You never know. We appreciate you guys. And until tomorrow, we're gone.